Hello malt mates, I'm Ralphie, this is the Whisky Bothy, and specifically this is the Whisky Bothy review number 1112, extras for extra perspective, opinion and content. And I'm going to focus on some of the points that I raised in my last whisky review, which was 1112, which was this, which is a rare beast in the Scotch whisky world, because it's a small distillery that cannot expand. It's not as if it can just double its size overnight. It's contained by its historical location, and it's called Springbank Distillery. It's in Campbelltown, and it's iconic. It has a cult status, and one of the main issues with that is that it is not readily available. It's certainly a little bit easier than it used to be because the collectors are no longer speculatively collecting in the hope of just doubling their money in a year or two. The times have changed, and part of that is more and more whisky drinkers are understanding the real depth of quality that whisky presents. And it's something that's more than the sum of its parts. It's the genuine authenticity of something which is craft made genuinely, transparently, at a distillery that does everything in-house itself to its own standard. So it's not reliant on others to supply its malted barley or to do the bottling for it. And that's what you have at Springbank, and it's a very rare thing in Scotch whisky. Sure, there are other distilleries that they may have their own malting floors for some, if not all, of their production of barley. And there are a few distilleries that actually do some bottling at the distillery using the distillery water supply. And it doesn't take much of a forensics inquiry to find out which of these distilleries are more deeply invested in delivering their product. But the Scotch whisky industry has a problem, and that is quite simply that it's not keeping up quick enough with the changing trends in the Scotch whisky commercial environment, where what started out as a small minority of you and I and several hundred thousands of others who were genuinely interested in flavour and authenticity and prepared to pay a premium for it, well, we weren't considered that important. But that's changing now, because times are suddenly getting rather tough for distilleries. And the way things are looking, in a few years, any distillery that uses its brand ambassador to insist in all sincerity that caramel colourant is just there to improve the looks and the delivery of the whisky, and it doesn't do any harm at all. No harm, nothing to see here, move along, consumer pleb. It's not going to wash. And any distillery that actually sincerely wants to persuade us that chill filtration does not unreasonably damage the delivery of a whisky to someone who's invested primarily in its smell and taste and its intrinsic quality, which is the only reason we really buy it in the first place. Well, if they're trying to persuade us that chill filtration doesn't change the whisky whatsoever, exactly what they were saying a few years ago, well, they're bullshitting us. And at that point, we walk away from the products. It's not for no reason that the independent bottlers are clearly prioritising authentically bottled, higher strength, naturally delivered whisky. And then we're shocked and surprised when we're buying these bottles to see how often it is the case that they're giving a better experience than the equivalent official bottlings coming direct from the distillery, which are overly engineered and sanitised so as to suit the disinvested palate of the passive consumer. And we've all met them. Some of them are friends. We know them. They're lovely people. But they don't want these frightening flavours, do they? They want smooth whisky. And the problem we have is too many distilleries out there are trying to persuade us that what we want is smooth, chill-filtered, caramel-coated whisky. And their message is failing. And it needs to fail for the survival of the Scotch whisky industry. Because the times are changing. And the real question when it comes to Springbank is not, why is there not enough Springbank available for us all to buy easily? The real question is, why isn't there enough of other distilleries doing things the Springbank way and gathering our attention, gaining recognition? Because there's many distilleries out there could be as good as Springbank in their own way, but the owners of these distilleries deliberately choose to dial in the whisky presentation with lower strengths and chill filtration, because do you know what? They're not engaged with this. We're not important to them. Well, so sad, too bad, never mind. We won't be buying so much from these distilleries. Things are changing fast, and the distillery industry needs to respond fast to these growing changes. But we have, and I've carefully titled this extras, it's called The Cult of Springbank. Because Springbank are still preeminent as the finest Scotch whisky maker in Scotland. And it's not for rocket science reasons, maltmates. It's for remarkably simple, practical, or transparent and authentic reasons. They do everything in-house and they do things old-fashioned, and they've got a fusty, dusty, cobwebby little distillery, which is an amazing place to visit, not because it's spotlessly clean and sanitised, and you have this amazing master blenders tasting room and a shop where you can buy, the distillery only bottlings at 3, 4, 5 times the price of the bottlings out in the general market. Some of these distillery shops, they really are taking the piss. But Springbank's younger bottlings, not the older ones, they're too expensive for me, but the younger bottlings, they're affordable, they're very accessible, and they remind us once we've bought a bottle and we pour a dram of just how good Springbank is. Whether it be the 10-year-old, or perhaps if you're lucky enough, you can get a bottle of the cask strength 12-year-old. My goodness, what a bottle of magic sauce that is. Where are the other distilleries doing what Springbank does? Why are they not doing it? Why are they not engaging with us, real whisky drinkers around the world? Do you know, it's not a problem. Because we've got the independent bottlers, well seeing, maltmates, well seeing we're at the stage that there are whisky festivals dedicated to independent bottlers and what they bottle, so that there's no official distillery bottlings there at all. Unless they're special guests, of course. But the tickets for these, they're flying out the door. As soon as an independent whisky festival appears in the map, the tickets are selling fast. It's a recent phenomenon, but watch this space, maltmates. We're going to see more of them. The independent bottlers are the new Springbanks, because they take from all the different distilleries and they actually bottle them as they should be bottled. Single cask, small batch, accessible prices, for genuine whisky enthusiasts. Excuse me, I've got a visitor. Hi Billy, you coming in for a visit? Are you? Come on up, you come. I'm doing an extras, so you can't tip the glass over. There you go, you big handsome pudding. Okay, oh, careful with that tail. That's a bottle of Springbank. It's not a bottle of Glenbogle from the supermarket, so I don't want you knocking that over. Here, I need to. So I'm just going to bribe the cat. I'll be back with you shortly. Your little brother was in earlier. There you go. He leaves me nothing but paw prints on my narrative. Talking of which, this is from Welsh Toro. Welsh Toro is an active online maltmate, an enthusiast, experienced, genuine and completely legitimate. And sent me a message recently. And I'm going to read it out to you. I love a good Springbank, but the hype is crazy. And it's not available unless you're in with a retailer or live near the distillery. The overhyping of the whisky itself led to the speculators, but also to the sort of whisky fans that will stock up as much as they can because they don't know when it's going to be available again. The price of all the Springbanks from 18 years and above sucks in a big way too. The 21 and 25 have always been outrageously priced, but even before the Springbank craze. I've been a maltmate for almost 40 years, so I've got plenty of happy alternatives. I do, however, get tired of the lemming-like worship of certain distilleries. Springbank appears to be in a league of its own these days, but it was Macallan not that long ago. Kilkerran with a drop of sherry is a thing now. Let's just remind ourselves that Springbank is not a whisky for the people, no matter how they make it. It's just not available to 99% of genuine whisky enthusiasts, and any discussion of Springbank has to acknowledge that. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Welsh Toro. I think on this channel anyway, I'm going some way to acknowledge that. But I'm going to speak up for Springbank here. They're a small distillery and they make whisky the expensive way. Historically, they've had plenty of opportunity to make cuts and efficiencies, to install a great big chill filtration machine, or even more, tanker out their whisky or send it out in casks and lorries to be bottled somewhere else using industrial domestic water supply, and they chose not to. What I'm saying is that Springbank have earned their status. The real question is, why aren't other distilleries becoming more like Springbank? We're seeing the beginning of this now with Ardnamurchan, with Bruichladdich, with Kilchoman. And we're seeing new distilleries being built now who are investing the extra money to make it happen in a malting floors and a bottling plant. Malting floors are not that expensive to build. In fact, you could even use the back of a lorry. Lochleigh have, and it worked. It wasn't ideal, but they're putting in a maltings floor. Why wouldn't they? They're using local barley made in the Lochleigh farm. Next, they need to put their own bottling plant in. And a bottling plant is expensive. But let me put it to any distillery, what's actually more expensive? Setting up a bottling plant and employing local people to bottle your whisky so that you ship everything out under 100% control by the distillery, or having your whisky, which you've made but had bottled elsewhere, sitting on shelves of shop for months if not years, simply not selling, tying down your capital in unsold bottles that people not interested in because they're buying from independent bottlers, because you're chill filtering, and you're adding caramel colouring, and you're just doing the basics at the distillery, and when people go and visit the distillery, they'll get a tour followed by some of the most expensive bottlings they could buy anywhere, because you're using the distillery as a tourist trap. That's not Springbank's fault. Springbank are way ahead of the game. The real problem is the other distilleries that haven't caught up yet. Distilleries that could catch up very easily, but it's the decisions of the owners of these distilleries who don't want to acknowledge the influence and importance of genuine whisky enthusiasts who are making up a bigger and bigger and louder proportion, not just of the whisky customers, but of the whisky messaging, advertising and ambassadoring of the brand in online forums, whisky clubs and on social media. It's not rocket science. Springbank got there first. They've earned it. And if the older whiskey's too expensive, just don't buy it. I don't buy it. I can't afford it. But I can afford a bottle of 10-year-old. Proper haze. Proper haze. They're not just saying in the label, we don't chill filter, and then shipping their whiskey out to a bottling plant somewhere else, where they're passing the whiskey through a chill filtration machine the size of a minivan, with the chill switched off so they can tick the box and keep the whiskey in the safe side of filtered. That doesn't work anymore. More and more whisky fans know too much these days. Distilleries are not getting away with it. The distilleries need to tune in, wake up, recalibrate, reposition themselves. How authentic do they want their brand to be? Because the traditional marketing is consistently failing, and even as it does so, it gets more and more expensive. And you've got all this social media there, free to access, free to use, free to inform. But you can't just stand in a warehouse and just rattle off a few tasting notes on your latest bottling, just saying how amazing it is. It doesn't cut it anymore. There's got to be genuine, informed authenticity. And hey, distilleries, if you want some advice on that, don't listen to me. Go and see what Ardnamurchan are doing. See how they present their whisky. You'll learn a lot from them. My conclusion is this. Springbank has now earned its cult status. The real issue is why other distilleries are not investing in catching up with Springbank. That's where the real issue is. Welsh Toro is absolutely right. It's so frustrating. As more and more people get to know about whisky and hear about Springbank, there's just not enough of it made so everybody can have a bottle. But we've got options. We've got choices. And particularly now in 2026, whisky drinkers are getting a lot more careful and a lot more considerate about where they spend the money, how they spend the money, and how much money they're going to spend. And this is it from the bothy. Free advice, whisky industry. Free advice. You don't have to employ consultants. The people that turn up in big fancy business cars, fresh off the golf course, to sell you product and opinion that they've dredged up and passed through ChatGPT. The thing about Springbank is that it is more than the sum of its parts. It's not just about the smell, and it's not just about the flavour. What gives Springbank its status is the whole experience, the everything about it. Knowing that this is a real old school distillery, employing many people in the local community, not automating, not industrialising. It's the complete and exact antithesis and opposite of Rose Isle Distillery, which belongs to Diageo. That massive automaton of a distillery, which honestly, I cannot bring myself to even buy a bottle of Rose Isle. I just don't want to do it. Never. I've got options. So have you. So let's keep a general awareness about where we're going. Be careful what we're buying. Slow things down a bit. And make sure it's good stuff at a reasonable price. Not cheap. Whiskey can't be cheap. Quality costs money to make. And distillery is a prime example of that. They employ a lot of people. Overcosts are high. And it's really down to what is going to be the next Springbank. There is one option. And that's Springbank Part 2, Kilkerran. Young Kilkerrans are amazing. Fly off the shelf, 8-year-old, 10-year-old. Unpeated, or they've got the peated batch after batch. Something's like batch 14, 15 now. Kilkerran from Glengyle Distillery. Glengyle Distillery is Springbank by another name. If you can't find Springbank, you can find Kilkerran. I highly recommend it to you as a second option. But there's no point, maltmates, in getting ourselves angry or upset at Springbank, because Springbank are doing it right. We should be more angry at the other distilleries who even now still try and persuade us that what we really want is chill filtered, smooth, caramel coated concoctions, heavily engineered to be safe and crystal clear, and pumped out by over-rewarded, inexperienced, cliched brand ambassadors who are, frankly, as time goes on, with us getting more and more experienced, they're getting more and more boring. And it's a shame, because they're generally lovely people. Have I missed anything? I don't think so. Good luck to Springbank. I'm still a champion for Springbank, because they're so important. Why? Because they are a very, very good ambassador for the real and genuine, authentic quality of Scotch single malt whisky, period. Even at a time when the big brands further diminish the characters, the signatures, and the personality, which, after we've had a few independent bottlings of the real stuff from looked after casks, and we see how much better they are compared to the official bottlings, we can't go back to the supermarket shelves. No matter what the discount, no matter what the price, the quality just isn't there anymore. So sad, too bad, we're moving on. Well done, Springbank. Here's to Kilkerran. And here's to the independent bottlers who really bottle whisky as it should be, when official bottlers neglect to do so. Over and out.